What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of U4 Tower of God Season 2. This is episode 9, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
So it's a little bit different episode this week. This time we're focused a little bit more on one of the I guess one of Bomb's new teammates. I think his name is Kong. He's the big guy, always with that little tiny angel wing in his back. Um, so we learn more about his backstory, and we also learned that there's another person who also has a similar angel wing on the back. Um, and I think this guy's name is Casano or Casano.
Yeah,
I don't know
Kasano.
how it's. Yeah. So we learn more about Kang's backstory, about how he was originally created. He wasn't really born an actual human being. Both he and Casano were, I guess, were both experiments grown. I guess grown like through. I don't know, like, if they're actually clones of somebody, or they're just artificial
Uh,
humans or
it says
among the.
basically, apparently, they were artificially created to be weapons, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
it, I mean, I guess, yeah, they were both created to be like living weapons, and they were implanted with, I think they said it was like Shinshu or Shinshu. Um,
Yeah, the Shinsu stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so eventually, like, both he and Kasno were both. Well, actually, they weren't given names until a little bit later. I think they were taken care of by this other doctor. I forgot this woman's name, but of course they took a liking to her as like almost like a mother figure. And of course, like, she was the one who gave them their names. So it seemed like, they were living happy lives at first, until they were brutally tortured and experimented much later, soon after that. And of course, they couldn't see the doctor again, and not neither Cosno nor Kong know what happened to her after they were experimented on.
Yeah. Um, and so basically, why we even learned about this is because at the beginning of the episode we see like that artificial intelligence from the previous episode uh had uploaded this image, I guess, to some kind of, I guess, some website that shows Kasano, and I guess Kun was curious about that. um well, I guess like the conversation he was having with the AI about Bam had led the AI to show him that picture, and then we also had that's also what leads into uh, the was it Kung, or the other guy, like explaining the backstory of how he was
Oh
created.
yeah, oh yeah, Kang.
Kang,
Uh,
yeah.
s- so
Um,
yeah, so Yeah, so
yeah,
eventually they both he and Cosno were of course eventually given their abilities. I guess using, I think it was like the power of the devil or something like that, and
yeah,
they were left. And then of course, eventually he was left in a comatose state for some time before he was woken up soon afterwards, and then eventually, like, um, he never really had a desire to climb the tower until he heard that his, I guess you could say, his brother Casino was alive somewhere. So he ended up taking these exams to climb the tower, and then of course he ends up meeting with Wanganon and Bam soon after this.
yeah. And of course, this also leads into another to kind of Kang confronting Bam about his like his he's been curious about that like that skeletal thing that heals him, and apparently like he suspects that Bam was also uh is also basically like a living weapon. And this goes into Bam explaining like how he was, I guess, like how he gained that ability, that he was also like implanted with something by Fog. And
Yeah,
yeah, so that I thought this might have led into some kind of a fight, but not really. Uh, Kang just like almost throws a punch, but then I guess hesitates at the last second, and doesn't, doesn't really, because he says, well, you're also a victim like me, and then kind of just walks off.
Yeah, I mean, like and then as soon after he decides to leave the team. Uh, I guess I don't know if it's in a permanent basis, but it seems like he doesn't want to be associated with a team anymore, and so
Yeah.
Bam goes back to the apartment, and pretty much he doesn't really tell everybody that uh, Kong decides to leave the team after this. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It just I
And
mean,
then
eventually
we
they're gonna
also
find
go
out
back
about this.
to Kun and his team, who are also, I guess, trying to hunt Kasano. So I guess this is probably going to lead to a confrontation between like Kang, Kasano, and Kun's group, and maybe I guess
Mhm.
also, Bam might end up like following him. So I guess it could also possibly lead to like them, Bam and Kun being reunited that way. Um, but yeah, I mean that's what I suspect is probably going to happen. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I thought this was an okay episode. I mean, you get Kang's backstory, and I mean it's kind of interesting, but it did feel really familiar because I have. Funnily enough, like I almost wondered at some point if they were because there was a manga I'd read that like had this almost kind of exact same backstory with this one particular character, and it almost felt like just I wouldn't say a ripoff, but it felt very similar in a lot of ways to that character's backstory. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting nonetheless, though. Um, the thing is that like his character hasn't really done all that much or really said all that much, so it's kind of hard to really care about him now because I mean, obviously, he's spent a lot of time with I guess Bam and the rest, like the rest of his team, but I don't know. It doesn't really seem like his character's really developed that much from really like from when we first saw him, except that he's I guess more friendly with Bam now. Um,
I
but
mean,
yeah,
it's possible that we might end up seeing him again later. Maybe
yeah,
not by the end of this season, but maybe I don't know in a following season after this. But yeah, it's just like it just kind of feels out of nowhere that they decided to I guess explore this guy's backstory all of a sudden. But then for him to just leave the team soon after this, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. And then
mhm.
of course him confronting Bam about having something similar to this. I mean, I'm curious as well to know like what happened to Bam and how he suddenly obtained it. But even he doesn't know like how the full details of how he obtained that power in the first place.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I mean it was interesting finding out about his backstory, but there wasn't really too much else to really talk about in this episode. That not a lot really seemed to happen except I guess setting up this confrontation with this Kasano guy. Um,
Yeah,
and I guess as a
and that
result, possibly like with Kun and his group.
yeah, it's just one criticism I have since the second season started is, I mean, for Bam, for instance, like we remember he used to be like a more talkative and more friendly guy back in the first season, but now like he's like
Yeah.
he just stands there like just not just
I
barely says anything
I mean,
here.
I get where they're trying to go with his character arc, but it's just not really like I don't know. It's like I feel like they're trying to, he's trying to learn how to kind of be like that again because now he has like I guess new teammates and he's trying to learn to be like I guess somewhat how he used to be, but it's just not though. I guess the way it's executed just isn't really interesting to watch, and it doesn't really feel like he's kind of like it doesn't really feel like a natural progression. I guess from where he was at the beginning of the season, I guess to where he is now. Um, and it mostly just feels like it's because we haven't really seen it really happen. It feels like there's been like some time skipping happening, even though I guess it hasn't really been explicitly confirmed, but it kind of feels like that's what happened. Uh, but and I feel like that's kind of what the problem is that we haven't really seen it. Seen him and his new teammates really like form any kind of like natural bond over time. Or at least it doesn't really feel that way. Um,
Yeah, it's just like outside of Wangdon, like he barely interacts with anybody else.
Yeah.
or nor does he even want to strike a conversation with anyone like he did before.
Yeah, and obviously, like another major criticism people have had of season two has just been the kind of, I guess you'd say, the lackluster animation. And we didn't really bring this up that much in the previous episode, but yeah, at certain points, like I think during that one, I guess I don't know if you'd even really call it a fight scene, but that scene where that one character was just kind of throwing punches at Bam, that in particular did not really look good. I mean, there's been, I feel like there's been other examples, but yeah, the animation, I feel like I would say, yeah, from what I've seen, has taken somewhat of a step down. And I mean, it wasn't really even that great in season one, but it feels like, yeah, season two just, I mean, I don't really have a problem with the art style, but it's more so just, yeah, the animation does feel like it's very like kind of, definitely lower budget, or, at least it just kind of feels that way watching it. Um, so I mean, it'll be interesting, I guess, in the next episode. I'm assuming there's going to be more fight scenes, so I guess we'll see how they handle those. But yeah, I mean, so far I definitely have to agree. I really haven't been impressed by, the, I guess, the animation in season two. I mean, obviously I didn't have like really high expectations or anything, but even then, it's not really that good to look at most of the time.
Yeah, it's just I mean, personally, like outside of the animation stuff, I just my main criticism is just Bam's character progression, from
Yeah.
where it was in season one to where he is right now, because I just feel like he just feels more like a background character at this point. He's just not really, I don't know. He's not applying himself as much as he used to be. I mean, like, yes, he's powerful and all, and he has the ability to heal himself through mysterious means, but he's just not. He's not going out of his way to to really reveal a lot of what's happened, which is kind of a
Yeah,
little bit
I mean,
frustrating, to be
obviously
honest.
that's just because of where his character is now after the time skip. Like he's more cold and closed off and not willing to really communicate with people. And like I said, I feel like the point of his character arc this season is to have him, I guess, open up to people more after he's gained like these new teammates, and you know, uh, I guess he has them as friends now. As opposed to like I guess how he's been before then, where he was just more, he's like a train killer, and he's not, he's very different from how he used to be, and that's kind of how his character, I guess, is now. But it just doesn't feel like, it really doesn't really feel earned to some extent as to how he is with some of these characters. And I don't really feel like their relationship has progressed that much, like I said, from where it was in the beginning of season two, like to where he is now, I guess, with them. The only, like you said too, the only character it feels like he's even kind of like sort of close to is Wangdan. The other character is I don't really get that impression because they haven't really spent any real time with him, or at least it doesn't feel like they have. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's my other criticism too. Is this like the way his character arc has been handled in this season? It was interesting
Yeah,
though to see how he is now compared to how he was in season one, and I was intrigued by that. But I just don't feel like they've really done a good job at like handling his character progression now that he is the type of character that he is. And with the I guess supposedly with the kind of character arc he's supposed to go through in this season, it doesn't really feel like he's really developed all that much either. Uh,
yeah. I mean, he's too closed off, like
yeah,
at times, and then like every time, like there's, like I said, like he doesn't go out of his way to interact with anyone. Like there's people that like they do come up to him and try to talk to him, but he just doesn't. He just doesn't return. He doesn't return that kind of sentiment
Uh,
uh,
the
at
other
all from
problem
that
too is
time.
just his, I guess, his character design, that his bangs are covering his eyes like most of the time, so he can't really see his expressions. So you don't really know exactly like how he's feeling sometimes about something. I guess only in important moments they show his eyes where you can actually see his reaction. Um,
Yeah, but
uh,
even if like you do see his eyes for once in a while, you don't really get feel a sense of like that he's feeling any sort of like, I don't know, like any sort of emotion from time to time like he did
yeah.
from the first season. So it's, yeah, I mean we'll see where it goes from here. Maybe it's possible that um he'll eventually like go back to his more friendly ways, but right now it just seems like he's too closed off for much of the season.
Yeah, yeah, guys. But that all being said, until next time, we will see you all next time.